In this week's Motor Week, stop drooling over the look of the Boxster. Ginny tells you what it's really like to own. And Motor Mouth Mike Rutherford gives us his views on motorist training. But first, Earls Court.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Motor Week.
Last week Mike and I brought you many of the highlights from the London Motor Show here at Earls Court. And guess what? We're back again this week because there's more, isn't there, Mike?
Well, as ever, Chrysler are trying to give the showgoers some value for money. They've come up not with anything really new, but at least they've tried. They've come up with the 2-litre GLX version of the Neon and the 4-litre Orvis Grand Cherokee, both making their world debuts at the London Motor Show. And don't forget also, the Icon is here as well. It made its debut at the Detroit show at the start of this year. So as ever, Chrysler have one of the most exciting stands at the show.
The Car 3 is now the Car Aquarium here. It was a normal Car 3. It's been gutted on the inside, but we put a false floor just below the level of the glass, sealed it all up on the inside, made sure there's no toxins in any of the components inside the car, filled it up with water, and 10 Japanese koi carp. This is their environment, you know, this is where they live now. You know, everyone looks at it and think, you know, it doesn't look real, you know, fish inside a car, but it looks like a car on the outside, but it's all fish aquarium on the inside. The Car 3, which you see here, is the top of the range Ford car. Standard extras include electric windows, power steering, central locking, air conditioning, CD player, alloy wheels, metallic paint. It's the full spec.
We're here on the Voxel stand with the company's orthopedic expert, Terry Mole, who's kindly going to tell us in a moment or two how to assume the correct driving position when you're in a car. But I've been my usual arrogant self and said, you don't need to tell me that, Terry. I'll set myself up in this car. I'm the expert. I've had instruction and tuition all over the world, and I reckon I'm sitting in the perfect driving position. Terry, am I right or wrong?
Well, you're wrong, really. I've put your position in memory so that we can alter it, and I can show you the difference. The first thing is what you set yours for to begin with is really totally performance point of view. That doesn't work for the road, because what does you well in a performance position actually puts a lot of stress and strain on your back in a normal road situation and leads to quite a number of ongoing problems. But looking at your position there, if we use, first of all, if you look at your accelerator leg, it's already dropped over the edge of the chair into an open hip position, which causes strain on the low back, because from a normal driving point of view, you're actually too close. If you depress the accelerator fully, you find you can actually move back in the seat that much, and you can come up a little at the front, which gives you support.
Oh yeah, that instantly feels a bit better.
That's right. We see now it's a matter of just getting support for that leg. Yeah. That leg is now held in a much more natural position. Right. And you can relax the foot on the thing now.
I'm right to keep a kink in my leg though, aren't I?
Yes, you are. You should. A leg works always better downwards than in a straight line. Yeah. But then for general driving, you're also a little bit too upright in this angle here.
Oh, right.
It restricts circulation. It also tends to put too much weight straight down through the hips and make you relatively unstable. If you've got a car without side bolsters, you move around like a tree in the wind like that. So you need to go back a fraction on the backrest for normal driving to that point of view, where you've now got, by moving back, you can probably feel it, your shoulders actually now on the top of the seat more. Yep. You'll feel the shape in the lumbar area more, and it takes a lot of stress off the hips, makes you less tired when you're driving.
Lots of people have been asking what is a motorcycle training company doing at the motor show, and to be fair, it's a very good question. Basically, the market for motorcycles is very broad, and it's growing all the time, and certainly people who are coming to the motor show to look at cars are very definitely interested in the two-wheel option, both from a commuting point of view and also as a pure leisure pursuit. And we found, together with the members of the industry who are also represented here, that this is a very good forum in which to explain to people what motorcycling is all about, give them the opportunity to see some of the bikes, and and really get fired up with everything that biking has got to offer. Certainly, lots of people have obviously got some past riding experience, probably going back 10, 15 years. We're finding lots of people coming back to biking. Our advice really is that if you don't have a full licence, get yourself properly trained. If you have got a full licence and have ridden before, then it's really very important with the changes in the type of power and output of motorcycles now that you get some training before you take to the road.
Well, we've had enough of car designers and engineers and all those motor industry people. We've bumped into Don and Caroline Grove, who are wandering around the show. We've been listening to these guys, been making some very astute comments, all sorts of comments about the cars here. And it's especially interesting because you guys are both from Washington State, I should say.
Yes, that's right.
In the colonies.
And you're here in London on vacation.
For 5 days.
Caroline wanted to go to Hampton Court or Les Miserables or Harrods or somewhere. You wanted to come to the motor show.
That's right.
And of course, you won. What are your impressions?
I have the pocketbook.
Yeah, no, I deferred to him. He wanted to do this.
What are your impressions of the show? Very different to what you see in the States.
Very large, and that's the reason I really wanted to come, because I knew it was a very large show, and I wanted to see a cross-section of what you had here.
Okay, and what's caught your eye so far?
The TVR and the AC, but we've just started, so we have a lot to see yet.
Okay. Caroline, how about you? What have you seen that you liked?
Well, I thought the taxi was interesting.
Yeah.
What I noticed was this is definitely much bigger than the Spokane car show.
Yeah.
We have 3 cars there on our show.
And what about Jaguar, I think, is another favourite of yours?
I think the Jaguar is a very beautiful car, but I haven't seen any so far because we haven't been here that long.
I mean, I'm not sure if we kid ourselves in Britain. We think that our cars are very stylish and we think they have this kind of British upmarket feel to them. Is that the way it's perceived when these cars arrive in the States? Are Jaguars and Rolls Royces and TVRs and ACs really as good as we think they are to the American public?
The Jaguar is a very nice car, but the Rolls is the one that is, the car if you're going to have one. I mean, it's very luxurious and very pricey.
Of course. And the other thing that's happened, it's quite amazing that you're here because you're marking a historical occasion. Chevrolet and Cadillac are re-entering the UK market. They've been absent for decades, but they've come back. What's the quality of those cars like? We know the Seville looks good, we know the Corvette looks good, but what about Chevrolet and Cadillac quality?
Well, I've owned a Chevrolet Blazer for a number of years and had a number of them, and they've been very good cars. I think the Cadillac now has increased their quality quite a bit in the last 5 years with their new North Star engine and their new body works and so forth. So I think it's of a very nice quality now. I think the English cars in the past had some bad reputation, like the Jaguar was noted for breaking down quite a bit, but the new ones now I guess are quite well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And finally, you guys, what's your impression of England? Well, fantastic weather we have here, don't we?
Well, I don't mind this kind of weather really, and we really enjoy London. We've been here many times and we like it very much.
Plenty of English gentlemen, are there around?
I'm sorry?
Plenty of English gentlemen around?
This is the only gentleman I need.
Cast your mind back exactly 12 months, almost to the day. We featured the 712 TVR at the Birmingham Motor Show. Hate that word, Birmingham, but things have moved on a bit. We're at the London Motor Show. We've now got a road-going version of that car. It's called the Speed 12. A year ago, we spoke to a 12-year-old Ben Samuelson from TVR. This year, he's 13. Ben, nice to see you again. Still looking as youthful as ever.
Hey, I think you were 39 last year, Mike.
Oh, that hurt. Tell us about the car. It's actually on sale.
We are essentially building it as a racing car. The difference is that, like you could drive a DB4 Zagato down to Goodwood to race it in the 60s, you could theoretically drive this car to Silverstone to go and race it. The differences between the road and the race versions are much less so than they are normally between a road and a race car. Obviously, with 800 brake horsepower per tonne, you need to have a lot of protection, so it's got a huge FIA approved roll cage, so it's a little bit difficult to get in and out of, and it's a little bit difficult to decorate it all that well, so it's fairly Spartan.
It just looks amazing, and just look around at all these people here. This is the busiest stand at the London Motor Show. Ferrari, Porsche, Lamborghini, forget it. Everybody's here. What's the top end speed of it? I know you probably haven't dared try to drive this thing flat out. Is there anywhere in Britain this thing could be driven flat out? I mean, seriously, you'd have to take it to somewhere in the States or Italy, wouldn't you, to actually do a top speed test for this?
Yeah, you'd have to take it to Nardo. It's probably the closest place to do a proper top speed run. No, we'll leave it to some daft journalist to try it.
What, at my age? The rumour is that it will be quicker than a McLaren F1, which means that it's got to be a 232 mile per hour car. Shows what an anorak I am, doesn't it?
Yes. We aren't going to make any big rash claims about it. Well, I mean, we leave that to the tabloid press, Mike. No. What it is we will see how far. I mean, we might end up having to sort of, in these politically correct days, artificially limit the top speed of the race version to maybe 230 or something.
Limit it to 230, yeah, great. And what about the key thing? Because everybody wants to write out a cheque, of course, me included. What's it going to sell for?
£150,000. We are being very, very careful, though, as to who we sell the cars to. We have to feel comfortable in ourselves that the customer has shown a very high level of driving ability, so we will be selling all the cars directly from the factory, servicing them at the factory, and before actually the customer takes delivery of the car, there'll be a kind of driving test unless they are very well known to us.
Significant, isn't it, that you're opposite a German company, Land Rover, and Rover come to that. This is a company that's not displaying the new Mini here, although they did show it in Germany. I'm not quite sure what we can make of that, but I can tell you one thing. Tony Blair walked in here yesterday. Before he spoke personally with me, he went straight to the German Rover stand. He didn't come to TVR. Now, why was that? It just seems to me a little bit odd that he went to a German-owned company. He didn't come to TVR, just across the way here, who are Britain's largest independent, truly British, or should we say truly English, car manufacturer. Was he invited?
No.
Well, that's why he didn't come. There's your answer. Tony Blair didn't pop in and see him because he didn't get an invite. Anyway, we'll be back with Ben Samuelson this time next year when he'll be all of 14 and I'll be
41.
Telematics is going to be the way forward in the future for motoring. It's all about information, it's all about a transfer of information, it's about being able to get to the emergency services quickly. If you break down, being able to be identified quickly, a location identified, and getting the resource out to you fast. Most importantly, telematics is going to provide a proper informed choice for people wanting to travel, how they make those journeys, and the traffic information that they can get to allow them to avoid the kind of congestion that the government is predicting is going to be, say, 60% up by the year 2031. Ultimately, it's going to be a system that's going to be linked directly to the car, and using cell phone technology and also satellite technology, it's going to allow people to communicate with a response centre. So, for example, if they're making a journey, say to London, they can request a route, and when they've actually got that route and are en route to London, they can then ask for more information about, say, the traffic conditions. If they find that those conditions are bad on the route they're currently taking, they can request another route or an alternative route to get around that congestion, and once they've done that, once they're en route and have got clear of the traffic problems, they can do things like request a hotel reservation, for example, or if they wanted to, request a parking space. Obviously, some of these services are going to take time to develop, but some of the services are certainly already available. The important thing about traffic in the future and about journeys in the future is alternatives. People may not be using their car the whole time. They may want a viable alternative to the car that's going to make their journey fast. What we at the RAC are hoping to do is to develop this kind of technology, encourage motor manufacturers to fit the hardware to support this technology, which will give motorists an informed choice and allow them to make a decision on what form of transport they want to take and what the most effective form of transport is for their particular journey.
After the break, is it just a cut-price 911 or a future classic? Ginny Buckley drives the Boxster.
New models from Porsche are not something that come along every day. So it's not surprising that this, the first totally new Porsche for almost 2 decades, the Boxster, is a car that just everyone wants to get their hands on. The thing with the Boxster is that it has an awful lot to live up to. I mean, sibling rivalry doesn't get much fiercer than when your big brother is the 911. But the Boxster has managed to rise to the challenge beautifully. But don't kid yourself, you're not paying 60 grand, so you certainly won't get the thrills and power by the bootful that you would behind the wheel of a 911. But what you do get is Porsche's all-new 2.5 litre 6-cylinder engine that, even though it's water-cooled, will still give you the kind of performance that drivers dream about. It certainly won't disappoint, with a top speed of 150 miles per hour and 0 to 60 in just under 7 seconds. The sound that comes out from the engine is absolutely wonderful, and the tune from the centrally positioned tailpipe is the car industry's equivalent of an Oasis #1. The engine really is incredibly smooth and the gear change snappy, and again also very smooth. The Boxster is a car you can have great fun in, safe in the knowledge that you're in a rear-wheel drive dream that corners beautifully with astonishing grip and also manages to feel secure and reassuring. The power-assisted steering is very direct, and the brakes are developed from Porsche's motorsport programs. They're extremely powerful, stopping the Boxster from 60 miles per hour to 0 in just 2.7 seconds. I can't show you the stunning flat-six engine because it's mid-mounted, hidden away here between the cabin and the rear boot, safely tucked away from all but the hands of the most experienced and expensive Porsche mechanics. Here in the boot is the only bit that you and I can get our hands on. This small service area. Simple, just the way I like my car's engines to be. So if this doesn't house the engine, then what does live here? Let's take a look. Well, you've got the spare and plenty of storage space, something else that puts the Boxster well above its rivals. There are just 2 models in the Boxster's range. There's this, the 5-speed manual, and for £2,600 extra, you can go for the Tiptronic version, which uses Formula 1 style buttons on the steering wheel. Just perfect for those wannabe Villeneuves to fantasise with. The Boxster may well ooze precision German engineering and performance, but you know, it's not exactly back of the class when it comes to style. Designed to evoke memories of classic Porsches from years gone by, the Boxster turns heads wherever it goes. The styling is so strong and it has such fantastic pose value that even my granny wanted to be taken for a spin in it. The Boxster is also one of the rare breed of soft tops that looks just as good with the hood up as it does down. And what a hood it is! In just 12 seconds, you're sheltered from the elements, making the Boxsters the fastest hood in the business. The Boxster manages to combine classic Porsche features with modern-day style, and the interior is no different. In keeping with Porsche's tradition, the ignition is on the outer side of the steering wheel here, and that's a throwback to the early Le Mans days, when the drivers had to sprint to their cars from the edge of the track. Having the ignition here made it faster and easier for them to start. The overall interior layout looks great and features in prominent position, of course, the rev counter. But the Boxster has made it slightly more of an affordable dream. At £34,000, it may well be half the price of its stablemate, the 911, but that's still an awful lot of pennies. But if you've set your heart on one day owning a Porsche, and nothing but that badge on the bonnet is good enough for you, then cancel your holiday, stay in for the foreseeable future, and put your name on the waiting list, because this is a car that I promise you will put you in driving heaven.
This week at the Tokyo show, Volkswagen have unveiled this W12 concept car. Styled in conjunction with Ital design, this car showcases the new engine which will appear in Volkswagen's future S-Class rival. This is British designer Simon Cox's new baby. His Isuzu V-Cross is in production, and this VX2 concept at Tokyo this week has styling influenced by samurai body armour. Daewoo has now recorded 50,000 UK registrations, a remarkable record given that the mark was an unknown quantity before their 1995 launch here, and that up to now their cars have been updated old models. Well done, Daewoo!
I'm going to rant again this week, and I'm going to make an accusation against you, because if you change your clocks last Sunday or whatever it was, if you change that clock in your kitchen, in your car, that watch on your wrist, and you converted from British summertime to, if you like, British winter time, well, I'm afraid you've helped increase the death toll in Britain. I don't know how we can live with our consciences. I've been banging on about this subject for the last 10 years, and since I've been doing that, probably hundreds of people have died, mainly children, as a result. The problem is quite simple. If it's dark in the morning, yes, it's dangerous for kids going to school, but kids going to school in the morning often have no other option than to get to school quickly. They need to get to school on time. If they don't, they're in trouble. So they get there quickly, and they're not really distracted from the job in hand, which is getting to school in time for the roll call. In the evening, when it's dark, they don't have such a tight agenda. In fact, many kids often don't have anywhere to go. So they start kicking about a ball, and they start taking their time, and they go down to the sweet shop and start hanging around, and they start doing the sort of things that kids do. And when that's dark, that's when the accidents are caused. So they've got more time to make themselves vulnerable to traffic in the evening than they have in the morning. And that's why the net result is a combination of lighter mornings and darker evenings is far, far more dangerous, is far, far more lethal than the other option, which is to have slightly darker mornings and lighter evenings. The latter combination would mean that we wouldn't put our clocks back when it comes to October. We'd just keep them on summertime. We'd also be on the same time zone as the rest of Europe. Now, I don't think that we should follow Europe just for the sake of following Europe, but I think it makes an awful lot of sense that when it's 9 o'clock in the morning in France, Italy, Germany and Spain, it's 9 o'clock in the morning in Britain as well. And so it brings us in line with Europe. It gives us harmony of times in Europe, which helps business, helps ferry crossings, helps holidays, helps all sorts of things. But that pales into insignificance when we think of the real value of sticking with the time zone throughout the year.